Presented by the 2015 Honda Civic, Canada's best-selling car for 17 years in a row and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Welcome to Arlington, Texas, in beautiful Globe Life Park, where the Blue Jays stole one last night. They scored 2 runs in the top of the ninth. Looked like they were going down to defeat at the hands of the Rangers, but Troy Tulowitzki had a game-tying single. And then the error by the third baseman allowed the Blue Jays to win it 6-5. And tonight they got their ace on the mound in David Price. Take a look at the lineup for the Blue Jays. Troy Tulowitzki had a 3-hit game last night. Josh Donaldson's had a terrific road trip. It all started in Philadelphia, went out to the West Coast with the Angels, and now here in Texas he continues to swing a red-hot bat. Justin Smoaks at first base. He is a former #1 pick of the Texas Rangers, and he knows all about Colby Lewis. He is 6 for 13 against the big right-hander. 3 extra base hits, and he's got an RBI. He is batting in the 5th spot tonight.
This is 36-year-old Colby Lewis getting ready for his 26th start of the season. He comes into this ball game a very hot pitcher. He has wins in 6 of his last 7 starts. In fact, his 6 wins since the All-Star break. Tied for the Major League lead with Jake Arrieta of the Chicago Cubs and Madison Bumgarner of the San Francisco Giants. For his career, he's 3-5 with an ERA right around 7 against the Blue Jays. That's 10 games and 9 starts versus Toronto. He's been tough on the American League East. 4-0 with a 4 earned run average in 4 starts this season against the East.
Ryan Strasburger is in left field again tonight. The lineup of the Shields has terrific speed. Sin-Shu Chu in right. Beltre committed his 11th error of the season last night. That was the decisive error. Andrews and Alberto up the middle. Napoli, the former Red Sox, back here at home with the Texas Rangers. And behind the plate, Chris Jimenez.
Elvis Andrews, happy birthday to him. This is his 27th birthday, his 7th season already in the major leagues for the shortstop. He leads American League shortstops in starts with 122 total chances and assists. He is second, though, in errors with 19 at shortstop. It's his birthday also.
David Price's birthday, his 30th. Tulowitzki drives this ball deep to center field. The Shields on the run, on the track, makes the catch. Boy, he can really run, and he closed ground on that one quickly, right on the warning track in deep center.
They had a pretty good center fielder, Leonis Martin, go on the disabled list with a fractured hamate bone. So he's out for the rest of the season. That's going to give the liner of the Shield Jr. a chance to play, and he can really play. Goes a long way to run that ball down and climbs the wall after he catches it, reminiscent of Bo Jackson, if you remember that, climbing the wall.
The Shields can really run. He had a terrific sprint down the first baseline in the 4th inning in last night's game. Josh Donaldson goes after the first pitch. Andrews has it on the big hop. 2 up, 2 down quickly here in the first.
Let's take a look at the scouting report for Colby Lewis and what he uses. Fastball's just 88, 89 miles an hour. He can cut that ball like he did right there against Josh Donaldson. Mixes in a slider, curveball, and changeup. His slider pitch usage this season from the All-Star break has gone up. It's almost double. So he's throwing a lot more sliders after the All-Star break this season.
Lewis, we mentioned he was the #1 pick of the Rangers in 1999. And he's had an up-and-down career. He missed the entire 2005 season because of injuries. And then he went to Japan for 2008 and 2009. His time in Japan, he played with the Hiroshima Carp. He threw 354 innings. That really got him back into the swing of things, overcoming that entirely missed season of 2005.
Been battling some injuries in his career, but he's got a chance tonight to win his 15th ball game of the season, which would be a career high.
He also won 14 games for Texas in 2011. Here's Jimenez behind the plate. There's that slider sign, and Bautista takes a strike. Bautista hit his 30th home run last night. That was in the 3rd inning. It was a 2-run shot to the seats deep in left. He'll take a walk. So Bautista walks. He's aboard. And that'll bring Edwin Encarnacion to the plate. Edwin has really been swinging the hot bat. You look at the hit streak leaders in 2015, and it's an impressive list of sluggers.
Certainly is. Nelson Cruz with the 21-game hit streak. How about Troy Tulowitzki? Did that when he was with the Colorado Rockies. Jason Kipnis has a 20-game hit streak earlier this season. And there is Edwin, one of the 4 players to have a hit streak of at least 20 games this season.
His 20-game hit streak, he also has reached base in 25 straight games. Edwin homered in the 6th in last night's game, one of 3 Blue Jays home runs. The 20-game hit streak for Encarnacion is the longest for a Blue Jays hitter since Scott Rowland hit in 25 straight in 2009. Boy, Encarnacion really looks good and comfortable at the plate, like he's tracking every single pitch.
Yeah, and even those tough pitches that are just borderline, he is all over them. You know, we just flashed some of those stats there during that 20-game hit streak. They're not soft hits either. He is driving the ball and hitting the ball, home runs and doubles.
He offered but checked his swing. He thought it was off the plate outside. And Hickox is the home plate umpire tonight.
A couple of perfect pitches right there from Colby Lewis there. As a hitter, you can do nothing about that.
There's a drive to center field. Shields broke back, but he's got the speed to recover. So Delino Shields makes a couple of running catches here in the first. Colby Lewis walks a man, but the Blue Jays leave him on base. David Price will go to the mound here in Texas when we come back. Side of a 6-5 ball game. Let's take a look at the lineup now for the Managers Rangers. Delino Shields in the top spot in the order. Sin Chu, Adrian Beltre, Prince Fielder, then Mike Napoli. Napoli has always been a tough customer for the Blue Jays. In 81 career games against the Jays, he has 20 home runs and 48 ribbies. He just rejoined the Texas Rangers from Boston, and right behind him is a guy that has given David Price all sorts of problems. Elvis Andrus, the shortstop. 10 hits in 23 at-bats and 5 RBIs, and he is 6 for his last 8 against David Price.
Price will be making his 26th start of the season and 5th as a Blue Jay. If there is one opponent that has given David Price problems, it has been the Texas Rangers. He has just 2 wins and 10 career starts versus Texas. He's got a .736 earned on average here at Globe Life Ballpark, and his lifetime ERA against Texas is .537, the highest versus any American League opponent.
So I think that David Price has a little payback on his mind.
Payback time tonight.
Last time he pitched here was a tiebreaker game in September of 2013. Pitching for the Tampa Bay Rays at that time, and he won 5-2, pitched a complete game. This is Delino Shields. A good night last night. He homered off of he homered off Burley in the 3rd inning to straightaway center.
I like how he made the adjustments. If you remember his first at bat against Burley, threw 3 straight pitches and struck him out very quickly. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, the light went on. I better go up here and start swinging. Had a multi-hit game against the Blue Jays last night.
It is David Price's 30th birthday, and lots of Canadians here, and they want to wish David happy birthday. Of course, the obligatory popcorn box. Price is a big fan of popcorn. As we mentioned, too, it's Elvis Andrus' birthday. He's 27 today. First time Price has ever pitched on his birthday. Well, in case you've missed it, the Yankees, they lost today, so the Blue Jays are a full game and a half ahead in the American League East. They can make it 2 games with a win here tonight. First time the Blue Jays have been 15 games over 500 since 1993. Fly ball into shallow center. Kevin Pillar coming in. The Shields is retired. Take a look at the rest of the defense behind David Price. It's a very good defense with the addition of Ben Revere in left. Pillar and Bautista have been terrific all season long. Donaldson has 16 errors, but don't let that fool you. He's a very good defender at third. Tulowitzki and Goins up the middle. Smoke at first, and Russell Martin behind the plate.
You want to talk about a player who is having a good year defensively. Ryan Goins back in the lineup tonight. He has not made an error in his last 270 chances. That's 70 games ago was the last time he made an error.
Shin-Soo Choo has crossed up the shift a couple of times in this series, and that's been the book on him since the All-Star break. He's going the other way, and he goes the other way to get a single with 1 out here in the first.
You know, we talked about that in last night's game. I think the Blue Jays are going to have to adjust. Talking to David Maggott, the batting coach for the Texas Rangers, he was saying that Choo is staying inside the ball a lot better, shooting the ball the other way and crossing up that shift. I think the Blue Jays are going to have to play it a little bit more straight up against Shin-Soo Choo.
Choo has now reached base in 30 straight games since the All-Star break. Adrian Beltre, it's interesting how the Rangers have adjusted their lineup tonight. Last night it was Fielder in the second spot, and that really played out in the 7th inning. 2 lefties back to back. Runners at second and third. John Gibbons had Cecil in the game, and he was able to retire those lefties back to back.
Big part of the ball game. We talked about it after last night's game. Choo was batting second, Fielder was batting third. Well, now he has put that right-hander Beltre in between those 2 left-handers and split them up to make John Gibbons' job a little bit harder later in this ball game.
Beltre had an RBI triple in his first at bat last night. Hit it off the wall in right. Beltre's a .300 hitter against Price for his career. He's 9 for 30 with a homer. There's a deep drive to center. Pillar is on the run. He's at the track, at the wall. Home run, Beltre. His 12th home run of the season. And he has given the Rangers a 2-0 lead. He did the same thing last night with an RBI triple, taking Texas to an early lead.
It's his 12th home run of the season. He had been struggling just a little bit over his last few ball games, last 7 games, but then he's starting to come out of it. That is his 407th career home run right there. That ties him now with Duke Snider all time. This guy, to me, is a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, he sure is. He's a terrific defender and a very consistent hitter. Prince Fielder takes a first pitch strike. David Price has had his problems against the Texas Rangers. You see, they have hit him harder than anybody he has faced. A career .537 earned run average. How aware might Price be of those numbers back? Think he really understands how tough the Rangers have been on him?
I think he has a feel that he has had his problems against the Rangers in his career. I bet you he doesn't know what the absolute numbers are, but players will have a feel that, you know, I haven't had a lot of success against Texas, and I have not had a lot of success in this ballpark.
For Price, that's the 5th home run he has given up here at Globe Life Park. That's a base hit. 3 straight hits. Single homer single by the Rangers here in the first.
So I think one thing he's going to have to do now, he's going to have to start changing speed. He's throwing a lot of fastballs, and this is a team, Texas Rangers, they've got some fastball hitters in there. Changeup's been a good pitch for him. I thought his changeup was outstanding in his last start against Los Angeles, where he threw 8 innings and had 9 strikeouts. He might have to start throwing a few more changeups here to this ball club.
Mike Napoli, a powerful right-handed hitter. He was acquired by the Rangers from Boston on the 7th of August. He was added to the roster on the 8th. He played in his first game with the Rangers since 2012. Big mighty cut from Napoli. Napoli played 2011-2012 with the Texas Rangers. He had 54 home runs in 228 games during that stretch.
Didn't he come from the Blue Jays to the Texas? He was a Blue Jay for what?
Very short time, about 3 or 4 days. Yeah. He went from Anaheim to the Blue Jays down to Texas in a matter of a few days in the off season.
Had some good years here in Texas.
Had a great postseason in 2011. Had 3 home runs in 17 postseason games and drove in 15 runs. There's the changeup, and Pat, you talked about the value of that off-speed pitch. It works right there against Napoli.
Last 2 pitches were changeups, and you can see Mike Napoli was way out in front, trying to establish the fastball early. He's given up 3 straight hits, so now he's got to go to that off-speed pitch, and he puts up his first strikeout.
So now there are 2 outs, and a second birthday boy in the ballpark. Elvis Andrus will step in against David Price. Andrus has put up big numbers against Price. 10 for 23. He's hitting .435 against Price.
Andrus is driving the ball just a little bit more. I was reading a story about him, how he has Josh Hamilton's bat now. He said, I'm going to start swinging that thing as hard as I can and take advantage of those pitchers. When he first came up, I don't want to classify him as a punch and Judy hitter, but he hit a lot of balls the other way. Now he's got that high leg kick, and looks like he's trying to turn on the ball a little bit more.
Six home runs for the Rangers shortstop. Ball on the strike, 2 outs. Ground ball, Tulowitzki to his left. He'll flip to Goins. That'll end the inning. But Texas scores 2 runs on 3 hits. A 2-run home run by Adrian Beltre has given the Rangers a 2-0 lead.
He also has quite a fan base. In fact, one young boy who's 12 years old is such a big David Price fan, he decided to take it on the road. He went to all 30 ballparks this summer, and each time he stopped at a ballpark, he made sure that somebody held up a sign wishing David Price a happy 30th birthday. In fact, he ended up talking to a few of Price's ex-teammates on camera who actually wished him a happy birthday. Along the way, this young man also raised over $8,000 for David Price's charity, which is a great story. And speaking of birthdays, a huge Blue Jays fan is celebrating her 98th birthday today. Out in Halifax, we want to say happy birthday to Aunt Alice.
Well, happy birthday, Aunt Alice, and we're glad you're joining us on the TV tonight. It's a big birthday. Andrews, Price, and Aunt Alice. You can't beat that. There better be some lobster on the table out there in Halifax for sure to celebrate that birthday. This is Justin Smoke, first baseman. Takes one downstairs. Smoke has hit well against Colby Lewis. He's 6 for 13 with the home run. There's an off-speed pitch. Isn't it interesting? You see pitchers like Lewis who really threw the ball hard early in his career, and now they understand the value of that off-speed pitch.
When he came up, he was power right-handed. 93, 97 miles an hour with that four-seam fastball, sharp breaking ball. Now it's add a little bit, take a little bit off, throw a curveball, a change-up. I mean, set up hitters. He's got the pitch. And he's done a great job this year. This time, watch this breaking ball. Take a little something off, and he's got Justin Smoke a little bit out in front and off balance.
Colby Lewis talked about his experience in Japan and the fact that he was an everyday starter and had the ability to go out there and really learn how to pitch. Gave him a lot of extended outings, and he pitched deep into ball games, and he really got the understanding of changing speeds and locating his pitches, and he came back and became very effective here in the major leagues.
Well, he certainly had his share of injuries that I think has robbed him. That and time. Father Time has robbed him of that great fastball.
It's a high pop-up. Andrews back on the grass in the outfield and makes the catch. Russell Martin's retired.
Colby Lewis has had Tommy John replacement surgery. He had that back in September of 1996. He's had some flexor tendon problems in that arm. Sore pitching shoulder in 2005, tendonitis in that right forearm. I mean, he's had all kind of problems, but he just keeps battling, and he can pitch now.
Well, and the thing is, we mentioned that the injuries knocked him out of the entire 2005 season, and then he had to bounce around. He went to Detroit, he went to Oakland, then he ended up in Japan. But to their credit, when he came back from Japan, Texas gave him an opportunity. He said, this is where I wanted to pitch. This is where I started my career, and I want to come back to the major leagues with the Rangers. Says Ben Revere. He takes his strike. It's 1-1. Ben Revere's average with the Blue Jays up to 284. Coming off to a slow start. Everybody but Ben Revere was worried about it. He didn't have any problems. He said, you know what, it's a matter of time. I'll get my timing down. I'll get my stroke down. And sure enough, he did.
You know, all you have to do is look at a guy's baseball card, and he'll tell you where he'll be.
That's another base hit. That's going to drop in front of Delano de Shields. 2-out single, and that continues a trend for Ben Revere. You see his first 10 games with the Blue Jays, he was hitting $176. Different story over his last 11.
I love the title of this. This is the reversal of fortune. In 21 games with the Blue Jays, there it is, 176, almost 200 points higher over his last 11 ball games in the on-base percentage. That's what he has to do at 457.
Well, this is an opportunity for him to run right here. He is hitting in the 7th spot tonight. Kevin Pillar's at the plate. He hasn't run yet with the Blue Jays. He had a couple of attempts out in Anaheim, but the balls were fouled off. Got 24 steals with the Phillies.
Yeah, 24 for 29, and that's a part of his game that we have not yet had a chance to see.
Colby Lewis used that slide step very effectively. Well, that's one thing. It's universal now. These pitchers have studied their release times, and they've all come up with different weapons to neutralize the running game.
You got to give your catcher a chance, don't you? Blue Jays have some nice speed at the bottom of their lineup in Revere and Pilar and Goins. He can steal your base if you need to. They've got some guys who can run at the bottom of that lineup, so you got to do something to combat that. Now it's time to go. 2 strikes.
Another slide step. There's a base hit that's going to get over the head of Andrews. Revere's going to go to third. Andrews directing traffic, reminding Strasburger to throw it to second, keep the force out at second in place. First to third goes Revere. Pilar has a hit, back-to-back 2-out hits.
You never know where those rallies are going to come from. This ball center cut for Pilar, and Ben Revere, he's judged those arms in the outfield for Texas Rangers. He saw that left fielder's momentum was taking him away from third base, so he'll take that bag.
Ryan Goins, the number 9 hitter. This first time Goins has faced Kobe Lewis. Two outs, Revere at third, Pilar at first. There's a base hit into center. Revere's going to score. Pilar will stop at second. How about that? 3 straight 2-out singles from the bottom of the order. And the Blue Jays are on the board.
That's what makes them so tough, is how deep they are, how they can turn that lineup over. This is 7, 8, 9, and they hurt you with 2 outs. Ryan Goins has been having some very good at-bats. Very compact at the plate, stays within himself, sends that one back through the middle. He's had a good month of August.
He sure has, and I believe it's the fact that he knows he's going to get the majority of the playing time. And he doesn't feel like every at bat is live or die, and every bat he has to prove himself. He's taking some pitches, he's getting on base. And now Kevin Pilar, he needs his hand brace. He forgot that. He uses that to protect that left hand. Excuse me, his right hand. He's going to put that on there. You can see it's a sliding mitten, if you will. Protects those fingers from those head first slides. I think the best way to address that, slide feet first.
Slide feet first.
Troy Tulowitzki takes a strike.
Remember that happened to Kevin early in the season. Remember, he slid into second base and he jammed up his hand just a little bit. He said, I'm going to go feet first. I'm going to go old school. Feet first.
Tulowitzki, a check swing tapper back to the mound, and Lewis will get out of it, but the Blue Jays, they score a run with 2 outs. 2 outs and nobody on, and then 3 straight singles, and Ryan Goins picks up the RBI. The single into center, he drives home his 32nd run of the season. It's a 2-1 Rangers lead.
tonight on the Sportsnet Magazine app. It's the NFL preview issue, and on the cover you'll see Rob Gronkowski. A couple of great reads on the Toronto Blue Jays. Christina Rutherford goes one-on-one with David Price, and Stephen Brunt catches up with Dave Steed as he nears the 25th anniversary of the only no-hitter in Toronto Blue Jays history. We've talked about it for the last couple of weeks. September 2nd, 1990. Buck?
Should be a couple of interesting interviews, and I read part of the interview with David Price, and it was a well-done interview, and there was very interesting comments from Price. So make sure you check it out. Brian Strasburger is the batter, 7-8-9 for the Rangers. Blue Jays scored a run in the top half of the inning. Pat, what do you expect from Price here this inning?
Well, knowing Price and seeing his body of work over his career, that's just the fuel he needed to get after this team. I'd love to see a 1-2-3 inning. Get the Blue Jays right back into that dugout.
When you talk about pitchers of the caliber of David Price, they really manage the lineup well. They understand where they are. They're in the bottom third of the lineup right here, and it's a one-run game. His team just scored him a run.
So he's going to want to have a quick inning. Just fire some strikes in there, and he gets the first guy very quickly.
Save during Canada's Color Expert Sale. Only at Home Hardware and Building Center locations. Homeowners helping homeowners with expert advice.
We are in Arlington, Texas, in the Dallas-Fort Worth metro area. This is number 8 hitter, catcher Chris Jimenez. Jimenez has been one of the many catchers that have shuffled in and out of this team all season long. They just haven't been able to keep anybody healthy. Pulls it on the ground. Big hop for Tulowitzki. He always throws on the run, right on the money. It's just something Tulowitzki is very comfortable with, and he never really plants his feet unless he feels like he's deep in the hole and has to get a little extra on the throw.
And we have seen him unload throws across the infield when he needs a little mustard on that ball, just a little bit more. He has the ability to do that, but he's always been able to keep moving like this. Catches the ball. Look at where that head is. It's straight down into that glove, and then he just throws on the run, and he's very accurate.
Fly ball to the right. Bautista is there. That's exactly what you expect from David Price. 7 pitches, bottom of the order. 1, 2, 3 retired in order. We'll go to the third. It's a 2-1 ball game.
and enter the code MBJ9909 to earn My Blue Jays points just for watching the broadcast tonight. The entry box can be found on your My Blue Jays homepage. Code must be entered by 11:59 tonight. Look for a new code tomorrow. And Buck, great news, season ticket holders, playoff tickets went on sale today.
That is good news, and it's been a while, and the Blue Jay fans are hopeful that this will be the year that they'll snap that long drought and go to the postseason. Donaldson, Bautista, Encarnacion. David Price did his part. He put up a 0 in the bottom half of the second.
Now the offense has to put in their work against Colby Lewis. Second time through the lineup now. See if they learn anything about Lewis.
Off speed pitch pulled into the seats.
You know, Josh Donaldson plays this game the right way. He beat that throw to first base to basically win the game in last night's game. Just a routine ground ball to the third baseman. And he was hustling down the line. And wasn't he beaming around the batting cage today?
Oh, he was more than beaming. He was bragging. He said, I run a 3.95 down to first base. Well, anytime a base runner gets down there in 4-1, 4-2, that's pretty good. But under 4 is a real speedster, and Donaldson was beaming that he put the pressure on the defense, and that's the same type of ball. Beltre threw it away, and he missed that one as well. Mike Napoli tagged at Donaldson, and once again Donaldson with great reaction. He sensed Napoli coming off the bag and slid underneath the tag, according to Paul Nart, first base umpire.
There's only one way to play this game, and that is to play it hard. This is the game, or the play that we were talking about in last night's game. Just a little ground ball to the third baseman, and watch Donaldson hustle down the line. And I think that definitely had something to do with the throw from Beltre, because he's very accurate on throws across the diamond. This one took a little tricky hop at the end, and he throws it flat-footed again. But the hustle by Donaldson to get down that line, I mean, if he's Cadillacing down that line, that's an easy play for Napoli to make.
He missed him. He missed him, I think. And watch the helmet's coming off before Napoli swipes at him. That's going to be interesting. And they've given it up. Donaldson will be aboard with the air by Beltre, his 12th air. He made his 11th in the 9th inning last night. Bautista takes a strike. Pat, it is very difficult for a base runner to run full speed at first and then decide to slide. I mean, that is an exceptional effort by Donaldson.
We have seen a lot of bad things happen around that bag when a player does that, runs that hard down that line and then has to get out of the way. The biggest thing that I worry about when a runner comes down to first base like this is his hand hitting the bag. We have seen thumbs and wrists, fingers broken on that bag. Donaldson does the right thing and just gets right over the top of that bag.
It is a hard rubber bag, but boy, oh boy, it can be like a concrete wall when you jam your hand into that or take a finger and extend there. Adrian Beltre tore up his thumb when he hit his hand on a bag at second base earlier in this season. Bautista takes a breaking ball. It's 2 balls and a strike.
That's why you see those runners like Kevin Pillar, who we showed before, wear that little mitten to guard against that. But you know, you're running like that, and all of a sudden you sense that that throw is offline, and you see that first baseman leave the bag. I mean, that's a jolt to your body to try and get out of the way.
Now it's 3-1 to Bautista.
But you know, there's only one way to play a game.
Play it hard.
Play it hard, especially where the Blue Jays are and where they are, where every game counts. Play hard.
Well, that's unfortunate, but you're right. It's unfortunate, the statement you made, because of where they are. Now you play hard. We should play hard all the time. Bautista cues it off the end of the bat.
No reason for anybody, unless you're hurt, to not give 100% down that line.
It's 90 feet. back that far. When Joe Madden took over the Cubs this spring, he rode on the first base grass outside the foul line in spring training. An honest 90, which meant he wanted an honest effort for 90 feet from his Cubs. That has been part of the transition for the Cubs. There goes Donaldson. The pitch is down and away for a ball. Bautista has walked for a second time.
Good at bat right there from Bautista to lay off that breaking ball from Colby Lewis. And the Jays need that big hit.
Boy, I tell you what, this is an opportunistic ball club. An error, a walk, and now you got to deal with the cleanup hitter who's riding a 20-game hit streak. You know, you go into these pitcher meetings, you say, okay, let's go over the lineup a little bit. And then you think about it, let's not. I don't want to know anything about him.
You might have some nightmares having to deal with his lineup. Where there's no resting spots. Where do you let off the gas pedal?
Check swing, little roller toward first. That's going to serve as a sacrifice bunt, basically, and kind of showing a half swing tapper to Napoli. The runners move up. Colby Lewis has tied his career high with 14 wins, and he has really been on a roll lately. But you can see his problems right here at home have been related to this ballpark.
Yeah, this is where he has had some tough times over his last 5 starts. His ERA is over 7. Opponents hitting over 300. How about the base runners? 49 of them in 29 innings. But he's 4-0 versus the American League East in 2005. Drew Hutchison is 6-0 against the division.
Justin Smoke, for the season, he came into this game batting .214. But when he has runners in scoring position, his numbers jump dramatically. .346 for Smoke. He can put the Jays out in front right here. Ground ball. That's a nice play by Alberto. And Donaldson comes in. That error by Beltre cashed in immediately, and it's a 2-2 game.
You know, no Rougned Odor tonight. He injured his finger in last night's ball game, so Alberto will get the start over there at second base. A little bit surprised that Colby Lewis was going to even pitch to Justin Smoke with first base open. But the Blue Jays will take it, and he almost sneaks it into the outfield for a base hit. Nice play by Alberto to rob Smoke of a hit. It'll pick up an RBI.
Smoke with 43 RBIs now. Russell Martin bats with Bautista at third. Martin with just 5 hits in his last 13 games. He had the big walk in the 9th last night. A leadoff walk against the closer, Sean Paulson.
I tell you, John Gibbons showed a lot of faith in Russell Martin. He could have easily pinched hit for him, knowing that Russell's been struggling just a little bit. Maybe set up a left-hander in there, but he knows that Russell has had some good at-bats, and he sees a lot of pitches, and he really wanted to work over Tolleson. He got that big inning started for the Jays.
2-0. Martin's got a good eye, and he has been struggling at the plate, but he's not going to swing at those bad pitches. Now, of course, I missed the ball. It's 3-0 to Martin with Ben Revere on deck. He didn't give in to Martin. He threw that breaking ball for a strike.
A little movement right at the end there. 3-0 pitch.
Right on the outside corner. You got to believe he's going to throw him a breaking ball here. If he threw it 3-0, he's going to throw it 3-2.
Yeah, if he's going to throw it 3-0, you got to figure he's going to do it, especially after he threw him a fastball.
Threw him another fastball and missed. Lewis thought it was a strike. 2 walks in the inning, 3 in the ball game, and that's going to bring the pitching coach out from the Rangers dugout. Mike Maddox is out of the dugout, and he's going to have a chat with Colby Lewis.
Another pretty good at bat right there by Russell Martin. Work that count, make him throw strikes, ends up walking again.
Ben Revere will be at the plate. Runners at the corners, 2 outs, and the Blue Jays scored their first run back in the second inning with 2 outs and nobody on. They got 3 consecutive singles from the bottom third of the order. Ben Revere got that started. Maddox wanted to wait until the umpire came out to break up this conversation. They probably asked him about the strike zone. Say, how's that strike zone looking back there?
I had the same feeling that he was not going to leave that little powwow out on the mound until that home plate umpire, that's Ed Hickox, came out there, and he's going to question some of those pitches.
Martin's at first, Bautista's at third for Ben Revere. Revere singled and scored the first Blue Jay run his last time up. For the Rangers now with 93 errors. The error by Beltre started this inning. This is popped up behind shortstop. Andrews is out, gives way to the left fielder, and the inning is over. But the Blue Jays tie it up. They take advantage of an error. Donaldson comes in to score the tying run. It's a tie game here in Arlington. It's 2-2, and David Price will start to the top of the order to begin the bottom of the third. It'll be Shields, Chu, and Beltre.
You know, when they made the Price trade, they traded for David Price, they wanted an ace, a guy that they could send out there every 5th day that could carry them, that could help them win ball games and beat big teams. This is the guy. He has answered every one of those.
Well, he sure has, and Price has 2 strikeouts tonight. And this is his 5th start for the Blue Jays. Gives him 35 strikeouts since joining this ball club in just 5 games. The liner to Shields flew out to center field his first time up. Blue Jays play DeShields straight away on the infield and slightly opposite in the outfield. 3-0. I call that a strike. It's 2 balls and a strike. The leadoff man here in the bottom of the 3rd inning. There's a drive to left, hit hard. Revere back at the wall. He jumps and made the catch. Oh, he timed it perfectly. That ball looked like it was going to be up over his head. And David Price got a little sheepish smile on his face. Said, man, these guys can play.
You know what? We were talking about it all year, how defense can win you ball games. The Blue Jays had some problems out in left field this year. They've tried 7 outfielders in left field. You see David Price's reaction. Well, ever since Ben Revere has gotten here, he has given them great defense. How about that play right there? Right up against that scoreboard. He checks it one more time. Leaps, times it perfectly right into the glove. And David Price thought it might be extra bases. Said, no, thank you very much. Happy birthday.
Well, what a nice play by Revere. Sin-Shu Chu bunts at it and foul chips it. Defense is so underrated, but so important. If he didn't make that catch, it's at least a leadoff double, maybe a triple to start the inning.
And the Blue Jays had just tied this game. Top of the inning. The last thing they want to do is to give that right back. So it can change the whole complexion of an inning. We saw that in Los Angeles when Tulowitzki made that play on David Murphy at second base. It looked like a leadoff double. He kept the glove right on that runner, and he was tagged out at second base. Could have changed the whole inning.
1-1 pitch from Price. Sin-Shu Chu's on fire. The Blue Jays straightened up their defense. They put Tulowitzki back at shortstop, but it didn't make any difference. Chu lines to left for his 2nd hit of the night.
They're going to have to straighten out all the way, I think, against Chu, because these are the kind of at-bats that he's been having. You can see it. They're still pulled around. They're not straight away. Those are the kind of at-bats he's been having since the All-Star break. He's been on fire.
Adrian Beltre homered to center field his first time up. He'd hit that with Chu aboard. I just got to believe you have to work Beltre inside. He's dealing with that sore thumb. He's got a big brace on his thumb, and he just can't get to that inside pitch.
You can see him when he tries to follow through the problems he has. It's on his left hand. That's the bottom hand. It's the guide hand that gets that bat through the strike zone. And when he rolls over that, the top hand really rolls on that thumb, and it really causes a lot of discomfort. But I'm with you. I don't want him to extend and just throw the barrel of the ball at the ball. I want to tie him up, stay inside.
Missed with the outside pitch, and that bottom hand for a hitter, that's the one that rolls, and when you roll that bat, that rolls over the thumb. He tore the ligaments in that thumb, sliding on the bases, and it just didn't heal. He came back way too soon, and it's not 100%, and it won't be. There's an outside strike. He catches the outside corner. That's 3 strikeouts for Price as he gets Beltre.
Looked like he was anticipating that ball in the inner half. Watch the front side open up just a little bit. Yeah, he thought that ball was way outside. When that front side starts opening up, that pitch on the outside corner looks like it's off the plate.
Coming into this game, David Price had made 4 starts. The most strikeouts for a pitcher in their first 4 starts. Price had 33. Todd Redmond was second. Corey Lytle, 5 other starters, had 24. And Price has added to his total now in his 5th start. He's got 3 strikeouts. Ground ball pulled to second. Owens has it. Another good inning for David Price. He gives up a single and nothing more. Some great defense once again. Ben Revere against the leadoff man. Delano DeShields climbs the left field wall and hauls it in. That could have been extra bases, but
2015. Presented by the 2015 Honda Civic, Canada's best-selling car for 17 years in a row and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Well, you know who appreciates good defense? Pitchers. Ben Revere made a terrific play in left field for David Price, and there's Big David giving him a big hug. That's a bouncing ball over the third baseman into left field. Kevin Pillar's 2 for 2.
Right off of that area around home plate, and with Beltre, the third baseman, anticipating a bunt. You can see that ball is going to bounce over his head. That's what the threat of just laying a bunt down does for you. Helps you get a base hit.
If he's in a normal position, that's an easy ground ball out. Ryan Goins had an RBI single off Lewis. Hit and run is on, and the ball is bobbled by Alberto, but he's able to make the play. Goins moves the runner to second. They started the runner, and Pillar moves into scoring position.
Well, that's a good move right there. Keep that pressure on the Texas Rangers. You got Colby Lewis just gives up a hit to lead off the inning. You start that runner, you try to open up a hole, but the shortstop was covering and the ball was pulled by Goins, but they got a runner in scoring position at the top of the lineup.
Back to the top of the order. This is why Tulowitzki in the leadoff spot makes a lot of sense. He was at the plate in the second with 2 aboard. He's got a runner in scoring position with 1 out. Isn't it interesting? And you look at a lineup, you say, okay, well, you know, guys are going to come up a normal time. This is his 3rd at bat already. We're in the 4th inning. And the Blue Jays, they've stranded 5 base runners and have a 6th runner on right now. So John Gibbons' team's just a matter of time before they break out against Colby Lewis.
So don't you want your best hitters up as many times as possible?
Absolutely.
Who got the base hit last night that tied it up?
Tulowitzki. He was always up in tough situations. He was 3 for 5 last night. And you couple that with hits in his last 2 at bats on Sunday, showing signs. And Tulowitzki, he's always thinking about the team. He said, it's not about my batting average, it's about wins.
And it's not how hard I hit it. I just got a base hit. I was helping the team out. Got to do something to help the team.
So fly ball to left. Pillar's going back to tag at second. Strasburger makes the catch, and Pillar's coming over to third. And he'll get there standing up. Well, a good read by Kevin Pillar. He saw Strasburger on the warning track and went back and tagged and moved up. So Josh Donaldson will step at the plate, and you look at the OPS for August, and Encarnacion, Cruz, Bradley Jr., and then Donaldson, and Edwin and Donaldson. Boy, they have been a terrific power duo here for the Blue Jays.
And driving in a lot of runs, coming up with some big base hits. How about Jackie Bradley Jr.? The month of August that he has put together. Nelson Cruz and Joey Votto, those guys seem to be on there every year.
Edwin and Donaldson, you can pick out just about any duo in this lineup and say, how about these 2 guys?
Yeah.
Or how about these 2 guys? Is that much of a balanced lineup? Line drive, speared by the second baseman. Donaldson denied of a base hit. The Blue Jays get a leadoff single and can't cash in. Josh Donaldson continues to hit
Rogers down here for the game. And if you are a Rogers Share Everything customer traveling to the U.S., you can share your experience and stay connected with Roam Like Home for $5 a day. Visit Rogers.com/RoamLikeHome for more details. Buck?
Certainly a lot of Blue Jay fans, I'm sure, taking advantage of that plan as they have been roaming like home all summer long to follow the Blue Jays. Mike Napoli, first baseman tonight, struck out on a changeup from Price's first time up. The Rangers got to David Price in the first. Sin-Soo Choo had a run-out single. Then Adrian Beltre hit a home run to center. Napoli reaches for that, and Price has had him off balance early in this ballgame.
Yeah, he is chasing David Price around that strike zone. He's looking for a breaking ball, and David throws a fastball. And he's looking for that fastball, and he pulls it straight with that changeup.
Tried to hit that outside corner and just missed. Mentioned Price 3-0 in his first 4 starts with the Blue Jays. He's held opponent's batting average to .202. We mentioned that because when you look back to his time with the Tigers in his first 4 starts last year after he went to Detroit, he was 1-1 with a .235 earned run average. But the opponent's batting average was .157. His walks and strikeouts were almost identical last year with the Tigers and this season with the Blue Jays. That ball is going to get down in the alley. Kevin Pillar over to cut it off, and he will. Napoli will be held. Look at that throw from Pillar. Right on the money. Going away from his arm, he turned and fired to Tulowitzki to keep Napoli at first base.
And that's one thing that you and I have been very impressed with Kevin Pillar. He plays a good center field. You can see he's shaded over there. Napoli had thoughts of taking an extra base here, but look at the throw and how accurate the ball is. Tulowitzki straddled the bag at second base, threw his glove out there, and the ball hit his glove right where the runner would have been.
Such a good play to keep Napoli at first and keep the double play in order. Elvis Andrus hit into a 6-4 fielder's choice to end the first. Price will take the same ground ball. Right through it. Mentioned Andrews has had a lot of success against David Price coming into this game. 10 for 23 against Price. Andrews began his career in the Braves organization. He was part of a very good trade for the Texas Rangers back in July of 2007. He was in the low minors, and he was identified as one of the young players that the Rangers wanted in exchange for Mark Teixeira. Mark Teixeira and Ron Mahay went to the Atlanta Braves, and in return they got Neftali Feliz, Matt Harrison, Jared Saltalamacchia, and Elvis Andrus.
They were all young players, weren't they?
Mel Didier was with the Rangers at that time. He's in the ballpark tonight. He's now working for the Blue Jays. He's a terrific baseball mind, and he was the one who identified both Feliz and Andrews in the low minors as guys they wanted to get in that Teixeira deal.
You know, when you trade someone like Mark Teixeira, it's nice to get some all-stars in return. Better have your scouts out there and understand and be able to project what a kid's going to look like in a couple of years.
And it didn't take Andrews long to deliver on the Thoughts of Mel Didier. He became an all-star in his second season. He was Rookie of the Year, second in the Rookie of the Year voting in 2009. And as a 20-year-old, played in 145 games. 2-2 to Andrews. That gets away from Martin and goes all the way back to the screen. Napoli will move up.
Well, that one hurts right there. Takes a double play away from the Blue Jays on any ground ball. So Martin can't get that glove turned over fast enough. It looked like he was anticipating that ball away from the batter, and Price fired the ball inside. Just couldn't get that glove down quick enough to block it.
Wild pitch charged to David Price, and it gets the Rangers out of that double play situation. It's now a full count to Elvis Andrews. Quite a battle going on here between Andrews and Price. Price has left a few pitches out over the plate, but Andrews hasn't been able to square him up. Brian Strasburger is on deck, the left fielder. Walks. 2 on, nobody out. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. He has walked a batter and struck out 6. At this point, he's only thrown 75 pitches, but Blue Jays all know a lot about Verlander, and they're going to see him over the weekend in Toronto at Rogers Center. Tigers will come into town Friday night.
He's already had a couple of no-hitters to his career. One against Blue Jays, May 7, 2011.
Just missed a perfect game. The only batter to reach was J.P. Arencibia, who walked. I believe it was the 12th pitch at bat, and he walked. This is a bunt that's popped up. Brian Strasburger. He struck out his first time up. Nobody out now. Blue Jays are going to crash at the corners. Justin Smoke from first base, and Donaldson, he will call the plays.
Well, if you bunt one, you got to throw a strike because they're giving themselves up. The slower runner is at second base, so if the Blue Jays decide and choose to get that runner, they got a pretty good chance of getting that lead runner.
Smoke's got a terrific arm at first. Squares a bunt and takes a strike inside. David Price busted him inside with that heater.
He's like leaning out over the plate. He's not fully squaring around, but he's leaning out over the plate. Watch this. That front foot almost touches the plate. Strasburger thinks that ball is inside. It's right on the corner.
That's an awkward stance for a guy to bunt right there. Putting that left foot so close to home plate. You really tie yourself up. Inside again, has to jump out of the way. There are times in the course of a ball game where you pitch for strikeouts, and this is one of those times.
You're ahead 2 strikes. You can go ahead and try and strike him out, or look for a ball on the ground right here. Get yourself a double play.
There's the strikeout. Strasburger couldn't get the bunt down and eventually strikes out. That's the second time he's gone down swinging.
This is a little challenge fastball right here. Here's my best fastball. Let's see what you can do with it. And Price throws it right by the young player. It's a big strikeout.
Well, and this is another quality when you talk about aces. Get a leadoff single, walk the second guy. The number 7 hitter can't get the bunt down, so Price strikes him out. Chris Jimenez, the catcher, hit a ground ball his first time up. He takes his strike. We have seen it in the early going with Price in his first 4 starts, his ability to pitch out of jams.
Yes, remember the start against Minnesota? That was his first start. I believe he had base load, nobody out, and got out of it. If you remember that one, it really seemed to propel the Blue Jays that day.
Jimenez is late. Price ahead, 0-2. Going away. Strike 3 call. Price shook to that pitch. Russell Martin had offered several pitches, but David Price said, I want to go down and away, and he hit his spot.
Oh, it's so beautiful to watch a pitcher and a catcher work together, and Price certainly had something on his mind where he wanted to go to get Jimenez. Looked like that backdoor cutter that he will use against right-handers at times. Now he needs to retire Alberto to get out of this inning.
Number 9 hitter, Hanser Alberto. He lined out to right to Bautista, who is shaded over toward the foul line. David Price gave up a single to Napoli, then walked Andrews, and has since struck out Strasburger and Jimenez. High changeup. Napoli at second and Andrews at first, and they've been standing in the same spot for a long time. Alberto cuts right through that high fastball at 96.
He has that ability, doesn't he, to just reach back for a little something extra when he needs some big outs.
Well, aces, they abused the weak spots in lineups. Alberto gets a piece of it. 7, 8, 9 in the Rangers batting order. 0 for 5 so far with 3 strikeouts.
How about one more right here that time? I think if you're going to go away, I think you have to go up and away. Take away some of that power. If you go down and away, that's going to give this young hitter a chance just to drop the bat on that ball and shoot a ball to right field.
He chased that high changeup up and away. Two balls and 2 strikes. David Price checking with the ump. It's a full count. 2 outs. The runners will be off on the pitch. Mike Napoli from second. Elvis Andrus from first, and it'll be back to the top of the order if Hanser Alberto can keep the inning alive. There go the runners. Popped into the seats down the right side. Again, Price had a definite pitch on his mind. He shook to that outside cutter.
Yeah, took a little something off of that. That cutter's still hard at 91 miles an hour. That's where he wanted to go to try and get the out. Changes speeds with that fastball very, very effectively.
Another 3-2 pitch. It's a 2-2 ball game. Texas jumped out on top with 2 runs in the first. Changeup, foul tip, and Russell Martin held on. David Price strands the first 2 batters that reach base. Texas leaves 4. We'll go to the 5th. It's a 2-2 game. Now time for Blue Jays Central Update. Here's Jamie Campbell and Greg Zong. Showed why he's considered an ace.
Well, look at the numbers. First of all, they're going to bear that out. A 178 ERA, bonus batting average of .202, and an OPS of .577. He's only had given up 6 walks, and he's had 33 strikeouts coming into this game. And when you need a strikeout, David Price is going to deliver. He gets the first 2 runners on base last inning, and then he just reaches back for a little something extra. Strasburger, then Jimenez, and then Alberto, and David Price is out of 4th.
Well, he knows how to handle the bottom third of this order. They are 0 for 6 with 4 strikeouts, and he has pitched himself out of a couple of jams tonight. Colby Lewis, he has pitched around some base runners. The Blue Jays have stranded 6 so far in this ballgame. Bautista's been aboard twice with a pair of walks. (3-0). Sooner or later, the Blue Jays are going to cash in on these base runners. They've had base runners on in each inning against Colby Lewis.
Yeah, they have left 6 already. Another breaking ball and another walk.
3 straight walks for Bautista. This walk leads off the 5th. That's 4 walks now issued by Lewis, and a concerned pitching coach Mike Maddox looks on. Inside, because Jimenez is going to go to the mound as all of a sudden Colby Lewis has lost the strike zone. 4 straight balls thrown to Bautista, and now the first pitch to Encarnacion is inside.
Yeah, that one there to Encarnacion looked like he got his spikes caught somewhere on that mound, and the ball just got away from him. Against Bautista, he was very careful. He was throwing all breaking balls to Jose, and Jose, I think, sensed what he was trying to do to him and just laid off every one of them.
You know, when you look at the Blue Jays and see all their offensive numbers, you think, man, this is a free swinging ball club, but it's anything but. The Blue Jays, coming into this game, have the fifth fewest strikeouts in the majors. They just don't strike out a lot.
For all the runs they score and all the extra base hits they get, it's a team that goes up there with a plan and they stay with it. And when they see breaking ball and they're not looking for it, they lay off of it.
They put good game plans together and they stick to them. This is popped up and playable over near the Rangers dugout. Mike Napoli calls for it, and Encarnacion is 0 for 3. But Jacoby and Eric Owens are the hitting coaches, and they've done a terrific job of putting a good game plan in each of their hitters' minds, and they're different. Everybody's different, and you have to put together a different plan.
They will look at, especially Brooke Jacoby, they'll get here early in the afternoon and they'll start looking at that night's pitcher, and they'll start looking at pitches in the strike zone, strike percentages. How many times does he throw that slider for a strike? How many times does he get it in the zone? And he'll pass that information off to his hitters, and that's how you start forming a game plan.
Bautista had a terrific jump, but then decided to shut it down. Jose picks his spots very effectively. He got a great jump, but for some reason felt like it wasn't good enough.
Watch him over there at first base. He's going to time Colby Lewis. Lewis is doing a good job of slide stepping sometimes, and other times got the full leg kick.
Justin Smoke. Smoke is 0 for 2. Picked up an RBI with a ground out in the 3rd. That tied up the game. The Rangers have only caught 2 of 10 base stealers with Lewis on the mound. Jimenez hasn't thrown out any of the 8 attempts against him. Boy, they're giving Smoke a steady diet of off-speed pitches and breaking balls.
That's all you're going to get. He might show him a fastball every now and then, but the book on him is change-ups and slow curveballs. They were working on him. It felt like he was a little bit too long in his approach at the plate, so they're trying to shorten up Justin's swing path just a little bit. They know they want him to get the ball in the air.
Pitch and found it straight back. Lewis, pitching in this ballpark, has had some trouble because he's a fly ball pitcher. He's given up 206 fly ball outs, and that's the most fly balls he's given up in his career in most of the season. 206, and boy, they fly out of here.
Yeah, fly balls were flying out of here last night.
Smoke getting a better read on the timing of those off-speed pitches. The Yankees lost this afternoon 6-2 in the Bronx to Houston. Michael Pineda made the start, and he was roughed up by the Astros. He's getting closer. Hooks this one hard into the seats down the right side.
You know, it's such a small difference from hitting a line drive fair and pulling a ball like that foul. You just have to wait just a little bit longer, just a shade longer. And if you can lay on that back foot just a little bit longer, keep those hands back, you're going to hit that ball and you're going to hit it hard. What you don't want to do is go out and try and hit it. Let it come to you.
That gets away from Jimenez, and Bautista will go to second. Now he gets into scoring position. It's a wild pitch charge to Colby Lewis. Well, just these little things that we haven't seen from the Rangers for a few years. Balls in the dirt to get away from the catcher. Takes him out of a double play situation. Puts Colby Lewis in a jam here. He threw the wild pitch, but that's a ball that's got to be blocked.
How about a runner tagging up from second base to third base on a fly ball to left field?
Yeah,
that doesn't happen. Yeah.
Fundamental execution hasn't been great. Another foul back by Smoke. Bautista bluffed as if he was going to steal third, with Beltre way off the third base line. Made Smoke to pull, obviously.
Elvis Andrus now is at second base in the shift, and he's trying to get the attention of either the pitcher or the catcher to keep an eye on Jose at second base.
Another ball in the dirt. Bautista's going to take third. Boy, those little things, and the Blue Jays take advantage again. Ball in the dirt right in front of the catcher. It squirts away from him, and Bautista's now at third with less than 2 outs.
And that's where you want to be heads up. You can see the flight of that ball at second base, and you can tell it's going to be a curveball, and it's going to be in the dirt, so you've got to anticipate this ball even when it doesn't get that far away. This one, look, stays on the dirt, but alertly Bautista moves up to third base, and now the infield has to come in.
3-2 pitch to Smoke. High and deep to right. Get up, ball way up and gone into the second deck for Justin Smoke. He had timed it up and gotten better and better throughout the entire at bat, and he takes Colby Lewis deep.
You know, you could see that. You and I are sitting up here. You can see that Justin Smoke was timing that breaking ball just a little bit better. And the longer that at bat went on, the more pitches that he was able to see, he was slowing down his body just a little bit more. He was letting that ball travel and get to him instead of that ball going out there and getting it. Well, he got a breaking ball to his liking, and he's a good low ball hitter. And he stayed back on that one and just got it airborne. Look at this breaking ball down and in. He stayed back, and you don't have to hit it that far to get it out of here. Justin Smoke unties this game with one swing.
His second career home run against Colby Lewis. He came into this game 6 for 13 against Lewis. Now he is 7 for 16 and has given David Price and the Jays a 4-2 lead. Catcher Russell Martin. For Smoke, that's his 13th home run here at Globe Life Park. We mentioned he began his career with the Texas Rangers and played half a season in the big leagues before he was shipped off to Seattle.
Boy, you talk about adjusting within an at bat. That was right there for everyone to see.
One and two. Martin drives it to center. DeShields cruises back and makes the catch. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. It's really interesting on this date, August 26. There have been 4 no-hitters in the history of the game. 1884, Dick Burns for Cincinnati threw a no-hitter. Dutch Leonard threw a no-hitter in 1916. Jack Kralik for Minnesota in 62, and Brett Saberhagen in 91 for the Royals. So Verlander just 3 outs away from becoming another pitcher with 3 or more no-hitters, and there are only 5 of those.
Let's see, Nolan Ryan, Sandy Koufax. Those were the easy ones.
Another one is from your team, Cleveland. Ben Revere drives this one to center, but that's going to hang up. The 5 pitchers with 3 or more no-hitters: Nolan Ryan, Sandy Koufax, Cy Young, Bob Feller, and Larry Corcoran. Justin Smoak started his career here in Texas tonight. He rains on their parade. Home run number 13 for number 13. Blue Jays have a 4-2 lead.
You can watch every out-of-market regular season game live or on demand in true HD. Real-time highlights, live look-ins, pitch tracking, and much more. It also includes a free At-Bat 15 subscription. Watch baseball at home, at the office, or on the go. Season-long subscription packages are available. Visit BlueJays.com for more details. Buck?
Thank you very much, Barry, as David Price now is pitching with the lead. Top of the order, Delino DeShields takes the first pitch strike. Ball on a strike to the leadoff man here in the bottom of the 5th. David Price has 6 strikeouts. We mentioned Kobe Lewis gives up a lot of fly balls. Tonight he's making his 5th start against Blue Jays in this ballpark, his 6th game overall, and he's given up 10 home runs in those 6 games.
Fly ball pitcher in this ballpark. Whoa, back at Rogers Center, that's a ballpark that gives up a good share of home runs. Gotta get the ball on the ground.
3-1 now to DeShields. Price has walked 1 to go with those 6 strikeouts.
This guy looks like he's going to be a pretty good player,
doesn't he? He looks like a hitter at the plate. Price throws strike 2. Shin-Soo Choo is 2 for 2 against Price so far. He's next. The Shield's got speed. We've seen that on the bases and in the field. He also has the ability to use the bunt. He has 10 bunt base hits. He got 7 triples and 22 stolen bases. Quite a combination.
Not bad for a Rule 5 pickup. Can they pick him up from Houston? So he has got to be in the big leagues the whole season. He's going to play center field, I think, the rest of the year.
Leonis Martin was the regular center fielder, but he broke his hamate bone, had surgery to repair that. That's in the palm of your hand, and he's going to be lost for the rest of the season. Full count. Off speed pitch, big hop for Donaldson. He's got to hurry. Throws a strike in time. 1 down.
The 2015 Honda Civic is Canada's best-selling car for 17 years in a row and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Conversation between Donaldson and Tulowitzki discussing where to play Shin-Soo Choo. He's hit 2 balls to left field. And now they're trying to take that away from him.
Now that straightens out the defense. A couple of balls the other way. Tulowitzki still talking to Donaldson about where he's playing, how they want to play him, where they want to play him during this at bat. Straightening it out after a couple of base hits to left field. Those are the adjustments you have to make as the game goes along. You can see that Choo early in the season was pulling the ball, so that's where their defense started lining up. But tonight he's going the other way against Price. So you got to make the adjustment.
You got to live on the fly, and Louis Rivera's made some adjustments. He's got the defensive charts in his hand. He's the infield instructor as far as their defense.
Early in the season, again, he was rolling over a lot of pitches and pulling a lot of pitches. Well, since the All-Star break, you could see he is starting to even that out. He now has 30 hits to left field, 32 to center, and 40 to right field. That's why that batting average keeps going up for him.
It's at 314 since the All-Star break. This time Price gets him. Good pitch away. That's strikeout number 7 for David Price.
He's got such good command and control. He can set up hitters. Time he cut that ball away. Look at Russell Martin's glove. Barely moved it. And Price hit it.
Adrian Beltre hit a 2-run home run in the first. Pulls this one to Donaldson. Goes down on a knee, throws across the diamond in time. Another red star in the book for Josh Donaldson. He takes a hit away from Adrian Beltre. We have seen some good D tonight from the Blue Jays. Once again, it's their third baseman, Donaldson, going to his left to throw out Beltre.
Jays tomorrow as he looks for his 12th win of the season, going up against Gallardo, and a full day of baseball on the network. We begin with the Blue Jays and Rangers, final game of the series, getting underway at 1:30 Eastern time for the pregame show. And then tomorrow night, 7 o'clock Eastern, it's the Minnesota Twins and the Tampa Bay Rays from Tropicana Field. Lots of baseball tomorrow on Sportsnet.
Tonight, the Twins are leading the Rays, and they're in the bottom of the 7th is 4-3 Minnesota. Right here, it's 4-2 Blue Jays. Kevin Pillar, he's had a good night, 2 for 2, couple of singles to left. Bottom 3 in the Blue Jays order have combined to rack up 4 hits already. They've scored a run and driven in a run. Kevin Pillar deep to left field. This ball is back and gone. Kevin Pillar, have a night. Home run number 8 for Kevin Pillar.
Singled his first time up and then singled his second time up and said, you know what, I'm tired of stopping at first base. Pillar is going to pick up his 8th home run, and I'll tell you, he got through that pitch. That one was up. It's another fly ball by Colby Lewis, and it might be the last pitch he throws tonight. Kevin Pillar with home run number 8, and that was no doubt about it down the line.
Kevin Pillar is 3 for 3. And Jeff Bannister is out. He'll take the ball away from Colby Lewis. The home run bug bit Colby Lewis again tonight. The Blue Jays have hit 11 home runs off Colby Lewis in his 6 games against him. No doubt for Kevin Pillar. High and deep into the seats in left field. The Blue Jays have a 5-2 lead, and they'll get into that Ranger bullpen. Spencer Patton finished up last night's game. He's in here to work the 6th. Spencer Patton pitched a 1/3 of an inning last night. He came in to get Bautista to close the top of the 9th. He threw just 5 pitches, so he is on in relief of Colby Lewis here with nobody out in the 6th.
27 games now as Colby Lewis is knocked out here in the 6th inning, so he goes 5 innings plus 1 batter, and he has given up 5 runs on 6 hits.
Blue Jays have hit 2 more home runs on the road. They've homered in 16 straight road games now. Ryan Goins is 1 for 2 with an RBI.
That home run by Kevin Pillar is an interesting home run, isn't it?
Been quite a drought. Pillar hit his 7th home run of the season on the 4th of July in Detroit. He hit that against David Price. That was 42 games ago. It's been quite a drought for Kevin Pillar, but boy, he's had a night tonight. 3 for 3 with a homer. John Gibbons' lineup has an awful lot of balance in it. And tonight, the bottom three in the order have really done a job. They have 5 of the 6 Blue Jay hits. This is the one thing about the Blue Jays. Smoke has the other hit a 2-run home run. Tulowitzki, Donaldson, Bautista, and Encarnacion don't have a hit yet, and the Blue Jays have a 5-2 lead.
And they've scored that magic 5 runs already here in the 6th inning. Yeah, I don't know if it's psychologically the pitchers work so hard to get through the top of that lineup, and then they get to the bottom here and they say, okay, now I can't waste any pitches. I've got to challenge these guys, and these boys are ready for those pitches.
Too, and I think the big sluggers, those big veteran bats in the top of the order, they take a lot of pride when the newcomers, the kids, the guys that are playing on a regular basis for the first time, are coming through with big hits. This has truly become a team in very short order. 3-2 to Goins. He'll take a walk. Man at first, nobody out. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. Verlander making a bid for his 3rd no-hitter. Will fall short as it comes to an end in the 9th. Back to the top of the order, Tulowitzki batting for a 4th time. Blue Jays have 5 runs on 6 hits. Rangers think the Blue Jays are up to something. Maybe play a little hit and run. They tried to hit and run earlier with Goins and Pilar at first. Goins at the plate. He grounded out to second to move Pilar into scoring position.
I don't think they're going to be hitting and running here. It's not the right combination. It's not the right score. This is where you sit back and just try and have big innings.
Yeah, I think John Gibbons wants Tulowitzki to have the freedom to pick a pitch to hit, not to force him to swing it away.
Not just yet. You're up by 3 runs right here. You got the top of the lineup up. You just walk the guy. Let the big boys swing away. Ryan has only attempted 1 stolen base all season long.
Well, and 2, if you're splitting your attention between Goins and Tulowitzki, you're asking for trouble. Tulowitzki is the man you better focus on. One count. Or a strike right at the bottom of the strikes on Tulowitzki. Turns to ask the umpire if that's as low as it goes. Ed Hickok's behind the plate.
So if he throws another one down there, he's got a better judge of what is a strike or not.
One and 2, nobody out. Goins at first. Kevin Pillar homered to start the inning. That home run knocked Colby Lewis out of the ball game. Base hit to right field. Goins turns around second. He'll go to third. Chu's throw goes to the cutoff man, Tulowitzki, with a crisp single to right.
Save during Canada's Color Expert Sale, only at Home Hardware and Building Center locations. Homeowners helping homeowners with expert advice.
Beautiful evening in Arlington, Texas, and the Blue Jays are having a good time so far. They have a 5-2 lead over the Rangers. RBI leaders among baseball, it's Josh Donaldson. He leads the pack. He's ahead of Paul Goldschmidt of the Diamondbacks and Nolan Arenado of the Colorado Rockies, Chris Davis. And then Jose Bautista, top 5 in baseball in driving in runs.
Tell you, here's a chance right here for Josh Donaldson to drive in a run. The Rangers have really crowded him first 2 games in this series, trying to throw that ball in the inner half. He could guess right here, guess on a ball in the inner half and try to do some damage.
He fouls it into the seats. Donaldson scored a run in the 3rd. That gives him 96 runs scored. He has 100 driven in, and he scored 96. What a combination. There's a base hit. RBI 101 as Goins comes into Lewinsky, cruises first to 3rd, and Donaldson has made it a 6-2 game. RBI 101 for Donaldson.
He went down and he got that one. He was robbed of an RBI hit his last time up. A runner at 3rd base with 2 outs. He hit a line drive right back through the middle, but the second baseman was standing there. This time he got it a little bit more airborne. Got it into the outfield. There's such a comfort level when you've got a runner at 3rd base and less than 2 outs. You can just relax a little bit, get the ball into the outfield. That's what Donaldson does. Just slices that ball into right center field. Picks up the hit and the RBI. Blue Jays now lead at 6-2.
Sam Freeman, one of 2 left-handers down in the Rangers bullpen, starts to loosen up.
5 relievers last night for the Rangers. Blue Jays won that game and they've gone to the pen here in the 6th inning.
Spencer Patton hasn't retired a batter since coming into the game. He walked Goins and gave up singles to Tulowitzki and Donaldson. Now he's got to deal with Bautista. Jose's had a perfect night. Hasn't had much to hit yet. 3 walks. Jose now has 77 walks. That's 2nd in the American League to Carlos Santana of the Indians, who has 81. When teams win divisions and go to the postseason, star players have good years. Complementary players have great years.
And there's always 2 or 3, maybe even 4 players that have career years. And the Jays certainly have that going for them this year.
Donaldson's having a career year. Bautista's the star. He's having a very good year. He's got a shot at another 100 RBI season. Edwin Encarnacion has 25 home runs. First year full-time player Pilar's having a good year. Colabello is a surprise and a pleasant one. Marco Estrada's had a career season, and Mark Burley's just Mark Burley
doing his thing. But you're right, you got guys having some big years and they all contribute, but the main thing is when you put it all together and you stir it all up, it's all about winning. And this team right now feels it, and you can sense it with this team. There's smoke and Goins. They're doing their thing when they're called upon. But you can feel it when you're around this team. You're in the clubhouse or you're down on the field. You're around the batting cage. This team feels like they can win.
No matter where they are, no matter who they're playing, and no matter who starts for them. 6-2 Blue Jays. We're in the 6th. Inside. When Ryan Goins starts at 2nd base, the team has gone 33-13. That shows you the value of defense. Justin Smoak has similar numbers when he starts at 1st base. Edwin Encarnacion has flourished as the DH. Bautista. Another walk. 4 walks for Bautista, and Encarnacion, looking for his first hit of the night, will come to the plate with the bases loaded.
Boy, the benefactor of all those walks is Edwin Encarnacion. He's got a chance to bust this thing wide open right now. Patton has come in and he hasn't retired a batter.
Elvis Andrews, the shortstop, coming in to encourage Patton. Nobody out, bases loaded. Pilar homered to start the inning. Goins has scored already. Tulowitzki, Donaldson, and Bautista are on for Encarnacion. No place to hide. The Blue Jays have hit 4 grand slams this season, including Edwin Encarnacion.
And you don't go up there thinking grand slam. You go up there thinking, okay, I'm going to hit this ball hard somewhere. I'm going to pick out a good pitch.
He hit his grand slam against the Rangers at Rogers Center in the Mark Burley game. Burley fell behind 1-0, and Encarnacion hit a grand slam off Nick Martinez. Lots of baseball being talked on that Blue Jays bench. Strike 2. 1-2 to Encarnacion. Looking to extend his hit streak to 21 straight. 0 for 3 so far tonight. Blue Jays fell behind 2-0 early, but stormed right back and now have a 4-run lead. Everybody perched on the top step. Swinging a drive deep to left field, and this ball is gone. Grand slam home run. That's the way you extend a hit streak.
Boy, in grand style. Wow.
Home run number 26 for Edwin Encarnacion. RBIs 76, 77, 78, and 79. A grand slam.
And they are at 10 runs again. They have done that a few times this year. 10 runs in a game, and we're only in the 6th inning. Edwin gets a fastball. Watch him get on top of this one and just drive that ball out of here. He's looking up like it's a pop-up, and then realizes that that ball is into the gap in left center field, and now you can break it down. Look at him, look straight up. Where is it? Oh, there it is. There's the outfielders running. You can break it down and get into that trot. You're going to knock in 4 runs and knock out that pitcher.
The Blue Jays have scored 10 or more runs for the 20th time this season. That's a franchise record. They had done it in 2003 19 times, but now they stand alone. This team, 20 times they have scored 10 or more runs. Blue Jays 10-2. Sam Freeman set to work to Justin Smoke, who goes after the first pitch, and it's a grounder to short. That's the first out of the 6th inning. Freeman in relief, 46th appearance of the season.
A couple of left-handers in that bullpen. We saw Jake Diekman last night. This is Sam Freeman. There are his numbers in 45 games this year. You know, when you're scoring all the runs like this, you can have a lot of fun on that bench. And Edward Encarnacion right now is having a lot of fun with his buddy Jose Bautista.
21-game hit streak for Encarnacion, and it's not your typical hit streak. He's done a lot of damage during those 21 games. Nelson Martin fouls it off. So the Blue Jays have scored 10 or more runs 20 times this season. In their previous 19 games, they are 18-1. And they had been tied with the Blue Jays 2003 team with 19 such games. Now they stand alone.
18-1 when they scored 10 runs. That's 422 extra base hits this year also for the Blue Jays. That's the best in the major leagues.
They continue to make you think that this might be the best hitting ball club in franchise history. And that's saying a lot when you consider those great World Series teams in 92 and 93. Russell Martin. Reincarnated. Creative Blue Jay fans for sure.
You know, I went back and I was looking at some of the stats from the Blue Jays in their history. You were talking about the 93 team. What a great hitting team that was. They scored 847 runs that year. That is not the record for the Blue Jays.
Russell Martin will take ball 4. That's the third walk in the inning. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. Well, Ben Revere will be the 9th Blue Jay to bat here in the 6th. Revere is 1 for 3. When you look at the 92 and 93 Blue Jays teams and try to compare the two, what you have to do is compare them, the individual teams, to the league at that time. It's hard to compare different generations, but you can certainly compare the teams as to how they stood against the rest of the league at that time. And when you look at the Blue Jays, this team has the widest margin offensively over the league of those 3 teams. Man, that's saying a lot.
Those are World Series championship teams, and they can score runs. I thought the 93 team was the best offensive team in terms of scoring runs, and that's not a record, like they said, for run score. That belongs to the 2003 Blue Jays when they scored 894 runs. But they could score in so many different ways, that 93 team, a lot like this team.
Now Ben Revere strikes out, and that'll bring Kevin Pillar back to the plate for a second at bat this inning. He started it all with a leadoff home run. That home run knocked Colby Lewis out of the game. But the Blue Jays this season, when you look at runs per game, they are 1.21 runs ahead of the rest of the league. That's hard to fathom.
Yeah, the run differential too is crazy good.
Coming into this game, they've scored 89 more runs than the Yankees, who are second. So we'll continue to develop that thought and continue to compare those great teams of 92 and 93 with this team, who is starting to make a name for itself. Kevin Pillar, perfect night. 3 for 3, 2 singles and a home run. pops this one up. Alberta goes out. Now Chu calls him off, and Pilar's retired. The inning is over, but what an inning it is. The Blue Jays put up a 6th spot in the top of the 6th with a couple of home runs. Kevin Pillar had a solo shot, and then Edwin Encarnacion, his 2nd grand slam of the season against Texas, gives him 26 for the year.
And how much fun they're having. Prior to today's game, Jose Bautista ran into a fan who was wearing a brand new Messi jersey. As we all know, Bautista is a huge Messi fan. So he made a deal with the fan. Swap jerseys. Jose pulled the shirt off his back that he was wearing for BP. The fan peeled off his Messi jersey, and they made a clean swap. Jose put on the Messi jersey, wore it all through batting practice. It was a little tight-fitting, but he says, hey, not too many people have a new Messi jersey. Now he wants to get it autographed by Messi himself.
Of course, Lionel Messi, the great soccer player for Barcelona, and a lot of Blue Jays have really developed a love for soccer, and as we've talked about all the time, they come out early and they'll kick the soccer ball around.
It's always on television too in the clubhouse.
Yeah, they watch a lot of soccer. Dylan Navarro probably led the way in the spring, and he got Russell Martin interested, and it's been a snowball effect. This is Prince Fielder. Fielder singled his first time up. David Price gave up 3 singles or 3 hits in the first inning, including a 2-run home run. Since then, just a pair of singles. Blue Jays coming into this game, as we mentioned earlier, 15 games over 500 for the first time since 1993. 70-55 with the Yankee loss this afternoon. They're a game and a half ahead in the American League East. "36 games left after this one, and the schedule is dwindling."
Blue Jays, you talk to each one of them, and they're not interested in winning series. They're interested in winning every single day. I love the attitude they had in Los Angeles after they won those first 2 games out there against the Angels. They're like, we're not going to be happy with just winning this series. We want to sweep him. Exclamation point to finish that series off.
They were down 5-1 and just stormed back, and talking to the coaches, they said nobody ever blinked an eye when we were down 5-1. Okay, let's go. We got some work to do. Very businesslike approach.
And I imagine the same thing is going to happen tomorrow.
Tulowitzki makes a nice backhanded grab, and look at that throw. On the money. Across his body, one down.
The 2015 Honda Civic is Canada's best-selling car for 17 years in a row and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
I imagine we're going to start seeing a lot of young players around Canada start to throw like this. I mean, that is a difficult play, but he makes it look so easily.
Well, he practices that all the time, so when he is in a jam where that's the only way he can make a throw, he's done it 15, 20 times a day. Napoli hooks it into the seats down the left side. You know, you watch the Little League World Series and you can see the impact major leaguers have on the 12-year-olds in that series. They're diving all over the place, high-fiving everybody, turning double plays, flipping the ball with their glove.
Yep. They watch the game on television. That's where they learn it. And like I said, I imagine a lot of kids around Canada are going to watch Tulowitzki and how he fields ground ball and throws on the run. We might see a few of them in the next few years.
David Price has 7 strikeouts, and since Tulowitzki and Price have hit town, it's been a different ball club. And Tulowitzki starts at shortstop. Blue Jays are 19-3. David Price is 3-0. And there's another strikeout, make it 8 for Price.
You know, John Gibbons was talking about David Price before today's ball game, and he was asked about the psychology of having a guy like that. Here are the numbers right here since July the 29th, flying high since they got him. And he said, well, think about last night's ball game and how Blue Jays came back and won a very emotional game against a team that's trying to get into the playoffs on the road against the Rangers. And then psychologically, the Blue Jays now have their ace going today in David Price. That's a good feeling for the ball club.
And you've been on the other side of the field in that situation. When you lose a game that you expect to win, then the next thing you think about, oh no, David Price is starting tomorrow.
We've got to play a perfect ball game to beat them.
And you can say all you want to about Price's numbers coming into this ballpark. He hadn't pitched well. The Rangers put a 7.50 ERA on him. David Price is locked in. He's in a different stage of his career right now. Troy Tulowitzki was the first piece to the puzzle. Price was another very important piece. Donaldson backhands it, fires. Look at the stretch by Smoke into foul ground. The defense has been sharp tonight as well. Donaldson goes to the backhand and then throws to the inside of first, and watch the throw as he backhands, pops to his feet from foul territory, and Smoke goes into foul territory, keeps his foot on the bag to end the inning. The Rangers thought about taking a look at it, but they give it up. Good defense on both ends at third and at first. 10-2 Blue Jays.
On right now on Sportsnet 1, it's the Voyageurs Cup, and it is on the line as Vancouver Whitecaps host Montreal Impact in the second leg of the Anway Canadian Championship. Jerry Dobson and Paul Dolan have the call from BC Place. Buck?
Had a great match last time. They tied 2-2 in the first go-around. So that's all going on now. Ryan Goins facing Sam Freeman. Freeman came in the ballgame in relief in the 6th. He ended the ball game after the Blue Jays have scored 6 runs on 4 hits. They got the 3 outs to end the inning. Ryan Goins had a walk in that 6th inning. We mentioned that because it was his 27th walk this season in 256 at-bats. It's significant because in his first 2 seasons with the Blue Jays in part-time play, he had 7 walks in total in 300 at-bats. But now all of a sudden he knows he's going to be playing and doesn't worry about having big offensive nights.
You know what it is? It's a byproduct of good approach at the plate. He's made a couple of physical adjustments, if you will, at the plate by lowering his hands and keeping his hands a little bit closer to his body so he doesn't get up underneath. You can see where his hands are up underneath that ball. He's having good at bats. I was actually talking to his dad today about that down on the field. He says he feels very comfortable. He feels very compact, and he's having good at bats.
His second walk of the night. He's been on base 3 times, and that is huge as the number 9 hitter. He turned the lineup over and turned things over to the big guns. Tulowitzki singled to right his last time up. Right-hander Mark Lowe, the former Texas Ranger, starting to loosen up. Obviously it's 10-2, and the way the Blue Jays bullpen has been throwing, you'd think that they could handle this one the rest of the way. It might be an opportunity to give David Price a short night.
You know, it's hot here in Texas. I'm always a proponent of, hey, why don't you save your bullets for your next starts?
Now the Blue Jays might be playing into November. You got to think down the road. Tulowitzki takes one outside. 2-0. Now it's 3-0. Well, look at all the hitters. Every one of them has got a bat in their hand. They're all stand up and say, let me up there again. And that one is ball 4 in the dirt. Tulowitzki will go to first, and Goins moves to second. 2 walks from Freeman here in the 7th.
And that's going to bring Mike Maddox back out once again. Talk to his pitcher.
Anthony Bass, right-hander, is warming up. As Pat mentioned earlier, the Rangers used 5 relievers in last night's game, and that was to get through the final 3 innings.
Used all their best relievers in last night's ball game, so we won't see them in this one.
Josh Donaldson had an RBI single in the 6th. He scored 2 runs, driven in a run. Boy, this is really tough when you have a pitcher on the mound that's struggling. He's just struggling to throw strikes, and that means that anything that's going to be in the strike zone is probably going to be a pretty good pitch to hit.
You know what? You can't change your approach. You got to stay locked in, and you got to stay disciplined. One thing that I've been impressed with the Blue Jays, they have not given away many at bats this year.
By giving away at bats, they just haven't chased when they want to get a hit, think about a hit. They're all thinking about the team approach, and they'll pass the baton to the next guy.
Yeah, no matter the score, doesn't matter. 10-2. They're up there grinding. They're not just swinging at that first pitch.
There's a strike, and you can hear the crowd getting on the Rangers a bit. Rangers have walked 9 tonight. Make it 10. That'll walk the bases loaded again. So that's going to be it for Sam Freeman. He can't get an out here as he walks all 3 batters in the 7th. When the Rangers needed a pitcher to come out here and pitch a couple of innings in this lopsided game, Freeman can't get it out here in the 7th. So he's out of the ball game, and Anthony Bass will come in with the bases loaded and Jose Bautista at the plate. Canada's best-selling car for 17 years in a row, and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Jose Bautista's walked 4 times. He walked right before Edwin Encarnacion came up last inning to load the bases, and this is going to be our drive of the game. A deep drive into the bullpen of the Blue Jays, a grand slam. Edwin, with his 26th home run tonight, in grand style, is our drive of the game.
His 2nd grand slam of the season, the 5th for the Blue Jays. This is Anthony Bass making his 29th appearance, and he didn't inherit a very comfortable situation. Bases loaded, nobody out. There's a first pitch strike to Jose Bautista. Jose has walked 4 times tonight. It's the 3rd time in his career he's had a 4-walk game. The Cub record for walks in a game is 5. Melky Cabrera had 5 walks August 10th, 2014 against the Tigers. Bautista doesn't want to walk this time.
No, he wants to hit. He wants to drive in more than 1 run. Piling up some stats here on this road trip.
Isn't it funny how we were concerned about the offense when we left Rogers Center, went to Philadelphia, and said, man, I hope they hit on this road trip. Now you got to think, I hope they save some hits.
Yeah, tomorrow, quick turnaround tomorrow.
Bautista tried to check, and according to the first base umpire, Paul Marty did. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Still nobody out.
There's not a swing. Bautista kept those hands back long enough.
Blue Jays have hit 3 home runs tonight. Another breaking ball and another checked by Bautista. Full count. No place to put him. Goins walked. He's at third. Tulowitzki had a walk. He's at second. Same thing for Josh Donaldson at first. 3 walks, loaded the bases for Bautista. Beltre to his left, second for 1. Back to first in time. A run comes in. Goins scores, but there'll be no RBI for Bautista as he grounds into the 5-4-3 double play. So Edwin was 0 for 3 when he hit the grand slam in the 6th. That extended his hit streak to 21 straight games. The first pitch.
What is that, 26 straight games now? He has reached base.
26 straight reaching base. He has hit 7 home runs during the 21 game hit streak.
How about that average right there? 397 during that streak with 22 driven in. And he's hitting the ball hard and he's driving the ball into the gaps, picking up big runs for the Blue Jays. You know, you get your power hitters, and that's why they're sitting in the middle of that line. You get them starting to get hot like that, you're going to score a lot of runs.
Tulowitzki's at third. Ball gets by the catcher. Tulowitzki's coming for home, and he'll get there safely. That'll make it 12-2. Has been a disappointing series for Jeff Bannister.
We were talking about it earlier. Just some sloppy play. A lot of wild pitches tonight.
Ball's in the dirt. Pitches not blocked. That's 3 wild pitches charged to the Rangers. Jimenez, the catcher behind the plates, had a tough night. A lot of tough pitches in the dirt. Line to the shortstop. He hit that one right on the button. That'll end the 7th, but the Blue Jays get 2 more runs here in the 7th. 12-2 Jays.
Card spots, and they'll get that chance again early in September when the Baltimore Orioles pay a visit. The O's are now just 2.5 games out of a wild card spot, and they will face the Toronto Blue Jays for a 3-game series early in September, beginning on the 4th at 7:07, and Saturday and Sunday games at 1:07 p.m. Go to BlueJays.com for tickets. Get them now while they are still available. Bye.
They're going fast, that's for sure, Barry, as everybody wants to get on this bandwagon, and why not? Blue Jays are having a lot of fun. Mark Lowe will come into the ball game in relief of David Price, who goes 6 innings in line for the win.
I think it's a good move right there. Save the bullets, get David Price out of there in a 12-2 game. Now go to the bullpen. Mark Lowe could use some work. He last worked 5 days ago in that series in Los Angeles. Lowe threw an inning there, had 3 punch-outs against the Angels.
There are just 15 pitches in that Friday night appearance against the Angels. Ryan Strasburger, he struck out twice against Price. He goes after that high pitch and lines it into left field. Leadoff single here in the 7th. So David Price goes 6 innings. He scatters 5 hits over the 6th inning. Both earned runs came in the first on a 2-run home run by Adrian Beltre. He had 1 walk, 8 strikeouts. He now has 41 strikeouts in his 5 starts for the Blue Jays.
That's one of the best, or the best?
That's the best.
The best through the first 5 starts as a Blue Jay. 8 more punch-outs for Price. And I thought in the 4th inning, I thought that's where the game really turned, I thought, for the Blue Jays, when they had a couple of runners on with nobody out. David Price reached back for a little something extra, struck out the side. The Blue Jays hit a 2-run home run, then scored 6 the next inning, and that's where we sit, 12-2.
Price with 41 strikeouts. That's the most through the first 5 starts of a Blue Jays starting pitcher's career. Jimenez dribbles it up the third base line. Russell Martin, a desperate throw, and Jimenez is safe. Martin probably thought about letting that ball roll. It got onto the dirt, and there was a possibility it was going to go foul, but he made a quick snap throw to first base, and Smoke dug it out. Blue Jays are looking at the video, see if they want to challenge this call at first.
It would have been a heck of a play. Martin comes up and fires. If it's on target and if it's on the fly, he's going to get him. But that one bounced, slowed things up just a little bit. He had a decision to make. Should I let this thing go foul?
Looked like Jimenez beat the throw, and now with the runner at second, Martin's going to check with Lowe on the signs. First 2 reach here in the bottom of the 7th. Hanser Alberto, the second baseman. He's got over 2 with a strike, and he lined out to right his first time up. Pops this one over the Rangers dugout. Mark Lowe was brought in to fortify the bullpen, and he's done a terrific job for the bullpen. They have got a bunch of hard throwers down there. He's got the 4th lowest earned run average among American League relievers. 36 of his 41 appearances to this point have been scoreless.
Well, think about what the Blue Jays did right at the trade deadline to fortify that bullpen. They basically got 4 new pitchers. Now, I know one of them was here in Osuna, but they put him at the back end of that bullpen. They got Aaron Sanchez back off of an injury, and they put him in the 8th inning. They traded for Hawkins and they traded for Lowe. That's 4 arms in the outfield.
This is into center field. Pilar makes a terrific catch. Oh, he took it right off the shoe tops and makes a nice catch. Looked like that ball was going to get down in front of Pilar for a base hit, but he charges in quickly and sneaks his glove underneath this baseball before it can hit the grass.
Plays it the right way. 12-2, and he's diving out there to help his pitcher to record the first down here in the 7th inning. But 4 arms into that bullpen, you know, just fortified that thing, and it's a strength now for the Blue Jays. This is a strength also. Defense.
It's been a strength all season long with Pilar in center. I got 4 stars in the book tonight on defense. Delino DeShields, Josh Donaldson, and now Kevin Pilar. Delino DeShields took an extra base hit away, or excuse me, Ben Revere took an extra base hit away from Delino DeShields in left field, and that could have started an inning for Texas.
An unbelievable play.
This a little bouncing ball, barehanded by Donaldson, and that pulls Smoke off the bag. Will Venable, the pinch hitter, batting for DeShields, got jammed and flared it toward third base. Donaldson barehands it and then throws wide of first, pulling Smoke off the bag.
Had a little bit more time than what he thought. He got to that ball so quickly. And he pulls Smoke off the bag. The Rangers have had a couple of infield hits in this inning. Mark Lowe now has got to pitch out of a bases loaded jam. They haven't hit the ball very hard against him.
Two infield hits and a little flare to left. One out now. Shin-Soo Choo. Double play ball will calm everything down for the Blue Jays right here. Way outside, it's 2-0 to Choo. Fred Cecil may have gotten two of the most important outs in last night's game, as he got Choo and Fielder to strand runners at second and third in the seventh. Choo is 0 for 5 against Derek Lowe. And he's had a good night at the plate tonight. He's 2 for 3, a couple of singles to left.
He's been swinging a hot bat, just trying to go the other way or up the middle, trying to pull the ball.
Of course, they said there against Mark Lowe, of course.
A comeback right here.
Inside. 3 balls and a strike. Strasburger started it with a single to left, and then Jimenez had a swinging bunt up the third baseline. Alberto lined out to center, and then pinch hitter Will Venable had a base hit on the infield. That's going to drop for a base hit. Strasburger's in to score, and right behind him is Jimenez, and Venable goes first to third. So Lowe having a bit of a rough inning here in the seventh.
That's another ball that was not hit very hard. Just served out the other way into left field for a 2-run single. He's throwing hard and he's hitting his spots. The Rangers are just coming up with some good hits. This one off the end of the bat by Choo. He just serves it into left field. He's had a 3-hit night.
Pete Walker out to talk to Mark Lowe. 1 out, 2 runs in this inning. It's 12-4 Blue Jays. Now you got the meat of the Rangers order, Beltre and Fielder, next 2 batters. Beltre homered in the first, struck out and grounded out. He has a much better swing on that ball that's out over the plate than he does on anything on the inner half.
Still, during his follow-through, he lets go of that bat, though, with that bottom hand, so he doesn't roll over on that thumb. Hit a long ball his first time up. He broke a tie with Miguel Cabrera in career home runs. They were both tied at 406. He hit his 407th and tied him with Duke Snider. And I saw Miguel Cabrera homered tonight, so he now has 407.
For Beltre, just his 12th of the season. His power has been sapped with that thumb injury. Mark Lowe has given up a couple of runs. We had mentioned how Lowe had 36 scoreless outings. Bouncing ball. Tulowitzki at short. Goins for one. Back to first. What a turn. Boy, Ryan Goins really turned it at second. That saved Lowe a run. As Tulowitzki gave him a good feed, and it went around the horn. 6-4-3 for the double play to end the seventh. Ryan Goins comes across the bag. Tulowitzki with a good feed right on the money. They turn the inning-ending double play.
One nation, one store. J-Shop is Canada's official team shop for your Toronto Blue Jays, bringing together the largest selection of Blue Jays products anywhere. Visit us online at jshop.ca. Buck, those blue jerseys look so nice, and I think they'll keep wearing them as long as they keep playing like this.
You betcha they're playing great, and they have used that blue top. Justin Smoke jumps on that pitch and drills it into center field. Second hit of the night for Smoke. Blue Jay fans all decked out in their Blue Jays gear here in Arlington. Smoke a 2-for-5 game. He homered in the fifth, his 13th home run of the season.
Why would you change anything, right? You keep winning wearing the blue jerseys. Why change? I know a lot of the players I talk to, and I ask them about that. They love the blue jerseys.
Yeah, they do. They like the blue over the gray.
Mm-hmm.
I think the league mandates that you have a road uniform, the home uniform, and you can have optional uniforms that the club can use at their discretion. Optional tops.
We're seeing that a lot around baseball, aren't we?
Kansas City will do that with their blue tops. They have a baby blue top that they wear. But I prefer this navy colored blue top. It's very classy.
Tampa does the same thing on Sundays. They wear a powder blue top.
I guess you would say this is more royal blue than navy blue, of course. Russell Martin, the catcher, has walked twice tonight. Pitching matchup tomorrow, we'll see Marco Estrada go to the mound against Giovanni Gallardo. The irony of that is they both pitched in the Brewers rotation last year.
Gallardo pitched a gem against the Blue Jays earlier this season back at Rogers Center.
He won the only game in that 3-game series for Texas. Well, Venable entered the game as a pinch hitter. He's now in center field defensively. Martin fouls it off. Blue Jays had 12 runs on 10 hits.
They were knocking on that door early in this game, weren't they?
They stranded 6 base runners in the first 4 innings, and you just sensed it was just a matter of time. It was a 2-2 ball game through 4, and then the Blue Jays took a lead in the 5th. Russell Martin strikes out. Seven, 8, 9 in the order tonight for the Blue Jays. Been very productive. Ben Revere, Kevin Pillar, and Ryan Goins. They have 5 of the 10 hits the Blue Jays have put in.
Scored a few runs too.
They've scored 4 of the 12 runs. They've been on base 7 times. Well, when the Blue Jays set out on this road trip, 2 in Philadelphia, 3 in Anaheim, and 3 here in Texas, you figure, well, 5 and 3 would be a heck of a road trip. They win tonight, it'd be 6 and 1.
I was getting greedy. I was actually thinking 6 and 2 would be a really good road trip for this team, but they have been playing so well. I mean, you got to set your sights a little higher, don't you?
Absolutely. Especially now, and this game should be well in hand. They have an 8-run lead in the 8th. Big bats come out again tonight. Edwin Encarnacion hit a grand slam in the 6th to extend his hit streak to 21 straight. Then Revere, what a nice play by Napoli, goes to second, and that's going to be a force out. Boy, Napoli took a hit away from Revere, got the lead runner at second, and Andrews couldn't hold on to it. So he tried to make the exchange and return the ball to first.
You know, one thing we have seen tonight, on top of all the offense, we've seen a lot of good defense from both of these teams. That was a heck of a play right there by Mike Napoli. Napoli's a big guy, and he was a former catcher, but he's got some good hands and some quick feet over there at first base.
He worked with Brian Butterfield a lot in Boston when they were together with the Red Sox, and Butterfield called him a Gold Glove caliber first baseman.
He was telling me that. He said Napoli should have won a Gold Glove. I think it was 2 years ago. And I said, Butter, you're crazy. He says, no, just watch him. Watch how he plays the game. And I started watching him. He's a good first baseman.
He made a nice play on that. Take a hit away from Ben Revere. Kevin Pillar with a 3-hit night, including a home run. His home run came in the 6th, and it was his first home run since July 4th. The irony of that home run, it came against his teammate now, David Price. The Blue Jays were playing the Tigers. It's this one high and deep to left again. Strasburger gets back at the warning track and makes the catch. Pillar just missed a 2-homer game. So the Blue Jays are done in the top half of the 8th. Now time for a Blue Jays Central update. Here's Jamie Campbell and Greg Zong.
of the strain. F must protect Zach against a surprise intruder into Red Rock. Don't miss it this Sunday, 10 o'clock Eastern and Pacific, only on FX. Buck.
Thank you very much, Barry. And we continue to move forward in this ball game. New pitcher in for the Jays will be Bo Schultz.
There are the numbers for Bo. 0-1 with a 275 earned run average. He's pitched in 36 innings this season in 24 ball games. Gets left-handers out, a 132 average and a very good whip. So he will face fielder Napoli and Andrews in this ball game. Bo Schultz last worked 4 days ago in that series in Los Angeles.
Bo Schultz will work to Prince fielder Mike Napoli and Elvis Andrews. Fielder is late on that first pitch, and it bounces right back onto the playing field. And all the way up into the upper deck and bounced all the way back onto the field. Off the bat and makes a shoulder high catch. 1 out. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership. Another big night for the Blue Jays and their big hitters. 12 runs on 10 hits. David Price in line for his 4th win since joining the Blue Jays. For Price, it would be his 99th career win. First baseman Mike Napoli with a ball and a strike. Price would improve to 99 and 55. That's pretty good win percentage. 44 games over 500. Look out, Buzz. It was right in the Rangers broadcast booth between a couple of ball players, and neither one of them moved for it.
Did they see it?
Steve Busby and Tom Grieve do the Rangers broadcast. Busby, a pitcher with the Royals, Grieve, a great outfielder, and the general manager of the Rangers. So he made a fan happy with a little souvenir.
Very nice. You know, back to David Price, he's all about winning. We talked about that in the opening, about how he elevates everybody's game here and really gives John Gibbons and Pete Walker that #1 guy, an ace, but he wins. And the team wins. I mean, they feel his presence.
Well, when you change this ball club the way Alex Anthopoulos had, and he switched his philosophy. He was all about talent. He felt like talent was the bottom line. You had to have talent to win. Well, I think he's found out that it's a combination of talent and character. Napoli grounds out to Donaldson. So when you start bringing in players like Donaldson and Martin and Tulowitzki and Price, what do they all have in common? They've all played in the postseason. The bullpen has really come together as well, and the additions of LaTroy Hawkins and Mark Lowe and Sanchez going down to work out of the bullpen. Brett Cecil, boy, he's turned his fortunes around dramatically. He has really pitched well. And then you got the rookie who's come out of nowhere, Roberto Osuna. Tulowitzki. Good inning for Bo Schultz. 3 up, 3 down in the 8th. Blue Jays will take the lead to the 9th. 12-4. It's all Blue Jays. We drove all the way from Toronto to see Encarnacion hit it out of the park. Check. Pilar make a great catch. Check. And the Jays north of the stirrup up. Jays of the north stir up the south, and they've done that. Check. Check on all 4 points.
Checkmate. They saw a grand slam. They didn't just see Encarnacion knock one out. They saw a grand slam. They saw Pilar make a great catch, and Kevin also homer. They saw Smoke hit a home run. A little bit of everything tonight.
Ryan Goins has been on base 3 times tonight. He had an RBI single and walked twice. He scored a pair of runs. The Blue Jays at the start of this trip, we've talked about it now. The offense was somewhat questionable, inconsistent, if you will. It's anything but now. They're on the verge of going for their 5th straight win here tonight. And during those previous 4 wins, they outscored their opponents 42-15. So that number would jump to 54-19.
Not bad.
54-19 in a 5-game win streak. That's pretty good.
Take my chances with that. Before they set out on this road trip, they were facing the Yankees at home. That was a big series. And then they faced the Oakland A's and their very good pitching staff. And, you know, they were running into some good pitchers and some good teams.
Well, and they got a break in that Oakland series because Sonny Gray had a bad back, couldn't pitch. Ryan Goins takes it inside. It's 2-2. Josh Donaldson again tonight. 2 more runs scored. That gives him 97 runs scored for the season. He picked up an RBI. He has 101. And Goins now with another full count. Brooke Jacoby giving out that great advice. Game in and game out. Goins rips it foul down the left side.
His advice is, hey, when that pitch is in the zone, go ahead and attack it. Make sure that they throw you strikes.
Goins walks for a 3rd time tonight. A leadoff walk here in the 9th.
Boy, the Texas pitching staff tonight have not been able to command. That's 11 walks now.
11 walks given up by Rangers pitchers. That won't set well with the pitching coach. Bautista's walked 4 times. Goins has walked 3 times. Russell Martin's walked twice. And then Tulowitzki and Donaldson each with a walk. Ball bounced in front of home plate. The Blue Jays are in good shape as far as their bullpen for the series finale and the final game in the road trip. Osuna picked up the save in last night's game in a clean inning. Hit a hit, struck out Chip. Sanchez has yet to pitch in this series. He's got a lot left in his arm.
And you got Marco Estrada going tomorrow to try and, if the Blue Jays win this one, which it looks like they're going to sweep the series against Texas with a full complement of your big guys in the pen.
Tulowitzki strikes out. That's the first out of the night. The way it stands right now, the Blue Jays have a 12-4 lead over Texas. That would increase their run differential to 173. 173 runs better than their opponent. Josh Donaldson Josh has 1 hit tonight and an RBI single in the 6th. He's officially 1 for 4. He had a walk in the 7th. You know, you talked early, Pat, about Blue Jay hitters not giving away at bats. This is a perfect example. Look at the focus with Donaldson here in the 9th.
This guy doesn't give away anything. Look at the game face in a 12-4 game in the 9th inning.
Once you get into good habits like this, it's going to carry you through a season. You know, you start giving away at bats, as you said, then who knows? It might carry into tomorrow's game.
You become very careless, you know, as a hitter, and then it's easy to give up in tough situations. But if you stay true to yourself, and if you stay strong and tough every day, you know, in those RBI situations, yeah, Donaldson for MVP, he gets my vote. You know, you come up with those big base hits late in the game because you have trained yourself all season long.
So it's not a surprise when Donaldson gets a big hit to put the Blue Jays out in front, or comes up with a game-winning hit.
You've heard this saying, you can't turn it on and you can't turn it off. You can only play the game the one way, the right way. You can't, you know, be in it halfway sometimes. You're either in or you're out. And Josh Donaldson has been in all season long.
Bounces this ball to Napoli. He goes to Andrews for 1. Back to first, not in time. Donaldson legs it out. So Bannister is out on the warning track in front of the Rangers dugout. They're thinking about challenging that call at first. Donaldson ruled safe, and they want the umpires to look at it. It's 12-4 in the 9th. So Donaldson hustled up the line to stay out of the double play. It looked like he beat it as the pitcher was over to cover the bag, and the Rangers are walking off the field.
I don't know if they want to go sit down or if they want to go get themselves a cold drink of water. Let's see from this angle right here. When is the ball in the glove? There it is right there. Looks like he might be out.
Now the umpires are still in communication with New York. Donaldson trying to keep the inning alive, legged it out, and the umpires are not even done over near the Blue Jays dugout. They're under the headset, listening to New York as they review this call. The call is that Donaldson is safe at first. Now they have a ruling and they call him out. Dana Mitt, crew chief, calls Donaldson out. That ends the top half of the 9th. Double play turned by the Rangers will go to the bottom of the 9th. Blue Jays trying to make it 2 in a row here in Arlington. Ezequiel Carrera has come on to take over for Bautista in right field. And Bautista, he had a busy night. He was on base 4 times. He had 4 walks in the ball game for the 3rd time in his career. Blue Jays took the lead and took command in the 5th and 6th innings. Bottom 3 in the Ranger order: Strasburger, Jimenez, and Alberto. Bo Schultz had a 3-up, 3-down inning in the 8th, his first inning of work.
He's made 23 appearances this year. This is his 24th and his 12th times. Half the time he has worked at least 2 innings. So he's going to try and finish this one off right here. And then his 2nd inning of work.
Defensive swing by Strasburger. He singled against Mark Lowe in the 7th and came around to score the 4th and final Ranger run to this point. Rangers have 4 runs on 9 hits. The Blue Jays have 12 runs on 10 hits. Kevin Pillar, the center fielder, coming in. He's there. 1 down. So now with 1 out, here's a preview of what's coming up on Sportsnet Central. Here's Brendan Dunlop and Ivanka Osmak. Thank you, Ivanka. That's all coming up on Sportsnet Central right after this ball game. Looking ahead tomorrow, it'll be Marco Estrada and Giovanni Gallardo. Chris Jimenez goes after the first pitch and grounds out to the second baseman. 2 down. Schultz has retired all 5 he's faced since coming into the ball game. Hanser Alberto, starting second baseman tonight, has gone 0 for 3 with a strikeout. Now to Alberto, the number 9 here. John Gibbons Blue Jays on the verge of going 6-1 on this road trip. And everybody was looking at the 3 games in Anaheim and 3 games here in Texas and saying, man, this could be a tough stretch. 6 games in 2 tough places.
All on the road against teams that they are fighting with for the wild card.
There's a 2-out base hit pass to Lewinsky into center for Alberto.
But you know what the Blue Jays have done? They have come in and they have made statements. They made a statement in Los Angeles by sweeping a very good Angels team who was right there. Now in Texas, thinking about trying to get into the playoffs. It's been a while before they have done that. And the Blue Jays make a statement here in the first 2 games.
Texas had the second wild card spot behind the Yankees. This is Will Venable, who had an infield hit in the 7th, as a pinch hitter. There goes the runner. It'll be defensive indifference as Alberto moves to second. 2 outs. Rangers down to their final out. It's 3-0 to Venable. There's a strike, and Venable reacted as you would expect. You see that ball was off the plate outside. Big night for Bautista as he reached base 4 times and was a table setter. He's scored twice on home runs tonight. And there's ball 4.
Jose got his jersey, his soccer jersey, during batting practice. On base 4 times. So that lucky jersey has a good first game.
He got a Lionel Messi Barcelona jersey, the new jerseys they are sporting, and he wanted a gift of that, and they made an exchange. He found a fan that was willing to trade jerseys, and they did. It's kind of a soccer tradition as well. After the game, they exchange jerseys. Right. Sin-Shu Chu, a 3-hit night. He drove in a pair in the 7th. Chu has raised his average 5 points tonight with those 3 hits. Came in at 244. He's up to 249.
Will Schultz is throwing hard right now. This is his 2nd inning of work. He's given up his first 2 base runners in this inning, but he's still throwing 95, 96. As this next pitch will be his 30th.
Two balls and 2 strikes to Chu. Mentioned Chu has reached base in all 30 games since the All-Star break, and he has really put together a good stretch. Blue Jay fans have been entertained. A couple good ball games here in Arlington, and there's a liner, and that'll do it. Justin Smoke makes the catch on the line drive, and that's the ball game. The Blue Jays win a Lafford 12-4 and have taken the first 2 games of this